Who Gives a Duck? Written by Michael David MacBride, illustrated by Leslie Rittenauer. This is Maude. And this is Vern. They've been together for 7 years now, which is great. The years have flown by. They've traveled, had wonderful adventures together, and have a very supportive, loving relationship, which is not necessarily common in ducks. Dear God, please don't look up anything related to duck reproduction. Really, just don't. It's not pretty. Given that, you may wonder why they don't look happy. First, Maude almost always looks like that. She has resting duck face. Don't ask her to smile. She really hates that. But today, there's more to it than just Maude's resting duck face. Today, they just learned they lost all 7 of their eggs this year. So, yeah. Here's the thing. One of them isn't as broken up about it as you would expect. Don't go getting all judgy on Maude. There's a story behind that, and we'll get to that. But she's the one who really doesn't want ducklings. First, I know I told you not to look up anything about duck reproduction, but by human standards, it's seriously messed up. Not all female ducks are into cavatappi pasta, if you know what I mean, and evolutionarily, female ducks have developed strategies, well, actually physical adaptations, to avoid reproduction. I swear, I won't go into any more detail, and you still should not Google it. So, there's that. I mean, ew. Right? Second, Maude and Vern had a pretty great life before deciding on having ducklings. Maude loved their trips and how they could just jump from pond to pond. If they felt like traveling across the country, they could. Third, they did have ducklings one year. 6 of them. Vern was such a good father. It really warmed Maude's heart. And for a time, a very short time, she thought, oh, we should do this every year. I get it. But then a snapping turtle ate one of the ducklings. Maude was devastated. I know, right? It was so messed up. One minute, Jonathan was right there, and then he was pulled down from below, and there was nothing but bubbles. Maude dove under the water to try and save him, but the turtle was so big, Jonathan was swallowed whole. There simply wasn't any sign of him. Then, 2 more. Kimberly and Paul got hit by cars. Maude had told them to keep up and even ran back after them, but she swears, to this day, that the car swerved to hit the ducklings. What kind of sick fuck would do that? Vern shakes his head when she brings it up, but he wasn't there. She saw it, and that kind of thing really sticks with you. So then there were 3 of them. They grew up, and you know what? Those ungrateful little shits moved on with their lives and never came back. Maude never heard from them again. What the hell? They were probably traveling to exotic places like Zagreb or Grand Marais. But the next year, Vern wanted to try again. He came at her with that scary corkscrew thing. You know, I'll stop right there. I don't need to traumatize you anymore. Afterward, Vern was rather pleased with himself. Maude laid the eggs in their nest. They each took turns sitting on the eggs, keeping them safe and warm, but the eggs just never hatched. Maude could tell Vern blamed her, even though he didn't say anything. And it was true. Maude had just made sure the eggs didn't get fertilized. He never asked, so technically it wasn't a lie. Maybe he didn't know that was something she could do? Eventually, it was time to move on, and they left the eggs behind. The next year, the eggs fell from the nest. Vern had gone out with friends and left Maude at home. "Where are the eggs?" he asked. "They fell," Maude said, crying. She had plenty of trauma in her past and could summon tears whenever she wanted. And in truth, this whole situation did cause her a lot of distress, and she cried about it. "Fell?" he asked. "You were supposed to be watching them." "Well, whose stupid idea was it to put our nest in a tree?" she yelled back. "We're ducks. We don't live in trees." I just thought," Vern stuttered, "you know that in a tree they'd be safer." "Well," she gestured at the broken shells and yolk on the ground, "guess again." Each year would be going fine, until it came time to lay eggs. Then the fights would start again. Sometimes over little things, other times over bigger issues. Each year, something happened to the eggs. "Did you fertilize him this year?" Vern would accuse. "I always fertilize them," Maude would yell back, though of course that wasn't strictly, or at all, true. Or something would happen when Maude was supposed to be sitting on the nest. "I had to go to the bathroom," she'd say. And it was hard to argue that there weren't very real threats. Coyotes, possums, raccoons, eagles, etc. that eagerly would eat duck eggs. If you stepped away even for just a minute, something could happen. After the 6th year in a row when things were really rocky for them, they agreed to counseling. Maude opened up and shared about her past, how Maude's parents had neglected her. Once she was left for hours, hiding in the reeds, while her parents did who knows what. And they always spoke over her when she tried to join in on the conversation, which made it particularly difficult on Maude when Vern interrupted or talked over her. "So, when I had these feelings about having ducklings," Maude said, "I just didn't know." "I don't understand how you could do that to me," Vern interrupted. "See?" Maude said. "You can't help yourself, even in therapy." The therapist intervened and made sure Maude was able to finish. Vern, after being coached in fair fighting and accepting responsibility for his actions, apologized to Maude. He had no idea about her parents. He had never met them. "There's a reason for that," Maude said. "There's a reason I never want to migrate home." And he opened up about his own trauma, about his sisters and brothers. They had all been so close and had such a wonderful, loving family that got together year after year for a family reunion, and how, at one reunion, everyone, save Vern, had been killed by a hunter. All Vern wanted was to try and recreate that loving family dynamic again. How hurt Vern had been about how their own kids had just left and never came back. "You too?" asked Maude. "Absolutely," said Vern. "It breaks my heart every day." "Those little fuckers," said Maude. "Right?" said Vern. "Assholes. How did we manage to raise such assholes?" And they bonded over that. Of course, that didn't fix everything in their relationship, but it certainly helped. They agreed to try again, and Vern agreed to be more gentle and attentive to Maude's needs. And Maude agreed to stop letting predators into the nest or rolling the eggs out of the tree, and certainly agreed to actually fertilize the eggs in the first place. A note from the author. Parenting is a challenge. Deciding whether to become a parent or not is similarly difficult. And just because you decide you want to become a parent does not mean it will work out the way you want it to. This is a book about the challenges of becoming a parent, of being in a relationship, of dealing with grief and trauma, and how people, or ducks, cope with it in their own unique ways. Maude and Vern are real ducks, as in there are ducks that live in my neighbor's backyard, they lay eggs in a nest in a tree, and she started calling them Maude and Vern. They also represent people who have struggled in relationships and with the complications of wanting or not wanting to have and raise children. Perhaps you know someone like them. I certainly do. As with any good tragedy, laughter helps soften the blow, and that was my hope here, to bring a little levity to go with the tears. To paraphrase the comedian Red Green, keep your stick on the ice. We're pulling for you. We're all in this together. Michael, 2024, Minnesota. Thanks to Libby, Stephanie, Jamie, and Gail for this Foothill Follies collaboration. It wouldn't have happened without you. Copyright 2024, Michael David McBride. Copyright 2024, Salty Books Publishing, LLC. All art and illustrations, copyright 2024, Leslie Rittenauer. All rights reserved. ISBN 979-898-793-9369. About the author. Originally from Michigan, Michael McBride now calls Minnesota home. He has delivered newspapers, worked for UPS, delivered pizzas, done collections at a bank, was a roadie for a country band, was a grant writer and funder researcher for nonprofits, taught English, literature, and humanities courses at universities and colleges in Minnesota, New Hampshire, Ohio, and Illinois, and held a few other jobs in between. Oh, and he's also a parent of 2 boys. Not ducks. about the artist. When Leslie Ritenour was younger, she never knew that her 7th grade project of illustrating a children's-style book, or the comics she had partially drawn and snuck into the shelves of her elementary library, would finally come full circle. At that time, she was just passionate about art and creating silly, cute artworks. Now, with her debut illustrations, Who Gives a Duck comes to life. Leslie, originally from Colfax, Wisconsin, currently resides in Woodbury, Minnesota. Traversing the cities in many ways, Leslie does various art content ranging from working as a projectionist artist at local theaters to creating her own original pieces, digitally and traditionally, that she displays at Westside Perk in Bloomington, Minnesota. She has a BS in psychology along with a BA in theater arts, which has supported her art career in various ways. When she isn't working for theaters or setting up art pieces, she is up to no good, creating art for her own business under the pseudonym Baby Bean Lettuce, such as stickers, prints, and paintings that display a variety of subjects from silly animals to peaceful, serene environments. For more of her work, visit babybeanlettuceartllc.com or visit her Facebook or Instagram using the search name Baby Bean Lettuce.